you're talking about.
Get real.
You all ready for this? Dun 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 dun.
No. Y'all, just stop.
This is a sham.
Welcome to DBL. I'm glad everybody got their little sip of drink before we started.
Yeah. It's
We have
a
our
quick
drink of
turnover.
choice.
It is a quick turnover.
It's like you're chilling and then you're like, oh my gosh, the music's on. Yeah. And I still have 2 bottles of water on my desk.
Al, do you ever bring in any bubbly water, or do you just steal Sharon's all the time?
I steal Sharon's a lot. I find new flavors at Target and bring them to her.
Oh, that's nice.
It's like a little
underground exchange program going on.
There's a whole fizzy drink industry that's become a really big thing.
Bubbly, Bublé, friend of the show.
Yeah, friend of the show.
There you go, Bublé.
Not friend of me, just the show.
That's right. Like a lot of us. For the second day in a row, Johnny Depp is taking the stand in his defamation trial against his ex-wife, Amber Heard. So yesterday, he revealed a lot about his abusive childhood and drug use. He did speak about the disturbing text messages he wrote about Amber's corpse. But maybe the weirdest part of his testimony, besides the corpse, was the inside look he gave us involving a daily routine in his marriage. Let's take a look.
She would sit me down on the couch and give me a glass of wine and take my boots off, set them to the side. This kind of routine. And I remember one night I came home from work and I think she was on the phone or something. And so I sat down on the couch and I took my boots off. And she just said, "What did you just do? What did you do?" No, that's my job. That's what I do. You don't do that. I do that.
Dude, that's weird. I feel like I'm watching a weird episode of something.
Like
the no expression on Amber Heard, okay?
Yeah, and you don't like that.
So you know it's true.
Maybe. Yeah,
because if somebody was lying on you, if I go, Eric, every day, Erica walks in and hits me with a 2x4, just your face, even in court, you'd be like, what? But if you just sat there like.
That takes a lot to stand there emotionless. I have to tell you, like to be like.
Well, you practice that over and over and over and over again. No hint to the jury whether this is true or not. But yeah, it's hard not to think that was a very detailed interaction that seems very real. Now, Johnny Depp is also an excellent actor. So.
Yeah,
I don't know. Here's the thing, though, too. I think people may not have remembered when this whole thing started between Johnny and Amber, but it was a really big story at the time because he was with Vanessa Paradis.
Paradiso?
For over a decade, I think, and shared children with her. And it was like a very angst, reaction from women who were like, so you're telling me you were with this woman for over a decade, she gave you 2 children or however many children, and now you're just going to go with this other woman? And it was very bizarre from the very beginning. So this is not shocking that this is happening right now. It's not shocking to me, at least, because I was following the story.
Don't find it shocking, Erica, that they have a routine. It might be strange to you and I, but I think a lot of couples, like when you drive down the street, you see a bunch of closed doors to homes. We don't know what's going on inside of there. We assume that it's just a basic everyday. But you don't know what's going on in there. And I think a lot of couples, maybe it's like they both fix themselves martinis or have some tea and go out in the backyard. And sometimes it's the removal of the boot ceremony.
Yeah.
That I don't understand it.
I've been there.
But sometimes it be like that. So like, why are we acting like it's that crazy?
Do you have a routine?
No, but I might tonight. I might be kicking off the removal of the boots. I'm like, Johnny did it.
I did try, when my husband went back to work just a couple months ago, I tried the dirty martini at the door thing.
I did that once.
Because his mother was telling us the story, and this was many, many years ago, but she used to do that for her father when he got home. She would have this dirty martini, and Anthony was so like just invested in the story. I was like, I'm gonna make my man a martini, and then he was like, I have to work out.
Yeah.
Like, it's like I
don't
can't
need a vat of vodka at 4:30 in the afternoon.
I did that. Yeah. They were like, and I was like, here's your drink, and Brooks was like, you look like you're trying to kill me.
Yeah, I think it's very symbolic, but like having a martini at 4, it's like your day's over. You're sleeping with your shoes on, so like you need to know that.
Unless you have someone removing those boots.
Yeah, good one, Tori. I like that.
Thanks, buddy.
All right. That was good.
Let's move on. So Red Table Talk returns tonight, but will Jada address Will's Oscar slap? Let's take a look at the trailer.
Coming up on season 5 of Red Table Talk.
All right, we're rolling. Everybody quiet on the set, please.
Please welcome Janelle Monáe. I am super honored to be here.
Oscar winner Kim Basinger.
I wouldn't leave the house. I would no longer go to dinner.
And the Smith kids are taking over the red table. The fact that we haven't done this yet is kind of ridiculous.
So at least from the trailer, Jada will not discuss the slap. We don't know that for sure, but again, we don't also know when these were filmed.
Yeah, right.
I would assume that when the Smith kids took over was after the slap, and a lot of those may have been before the slap. That was my assumption.
Oh, I mean, they could have filmed one, right, and dropped it in anytime they wanted, even if they had, episodes in the can.
Right.
I don't know, would you lead with that? I might have.
As you said that, Jeff, I'm like, well, if you tease it, do you really care about this week's episode if you know next week is the slap? And then if you have the slap episode, do you care what they're talking about next week with cancel culture? Who cares? We just talked about the slap. So maybe it's such a big event that it almost like a black hole. It's going to suck all the attention from anything else around it. So maybe they're going to wait.
Which isn't bad though if you wanted to have that for Red Table Talk. My opinion, and maybe I'm wrong, is if they discuss it around Red Table Talk, it feels, I don't know, a bit soon and also like exploitive in a weird way. I don't know. I don't know if I would feel it was gimmicky in a weird way.
Do you think legally they should?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
No.
I think that might be it too.
I think you might be right. I think they were told to probably not discuss it because there's a lot of there's a lot of risks there. Yeah.
Well, also, I mean, this may be an unpopular opinion, but I don't think it's her responsibility to discuss it.
Right.
This is her platform. And I think, yes, people want to know, but at the end of the day, she wasn't the one that got up out of her seat. She didn't touch anyone. The whole thing was catalyzed by her being made a butt of a joke. So is it her responsibility to clear the air?
I'm not saying
I think she's involved a little bit.
And not even that she's involved, Erica. I think this is our first time because of the red table and what they've shown us. That you can talk about anything that people have never talked about, really, especially people super A-list stars to talk about their most personal issues. I thought that this was the only platform in which the viewer might expect the host to talk about something personal unless it's a legal situation.
No, I agree that the expectation is there. I agree that this might be an appropriate place. I just don't believe it's her responsibility, and those are two separate conversations in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, Will's her husband. You could have Will on. They don't necessarily have to go in depth of what happened, but they could say, listen, we have to apologize first and foremost, whatever they want to say. I'm not putting words in their mouth. We can't talk about this legally, but here's the things that we do want to talk about because I know everyone's expecting us to get it off the table, almost push it away, and then move on with the rest of, whoever, Dolly Parton,
because otherwise it's going to be hanging over the show.
But maybe hanging over the show is more people wanting to watch. I wonder if it's also an incentive to see if they didn't bring in the tease, will they or won't they? You tune in to see.
There's also going to be criticism by not talking about it, even though you think that's doing the right thing.
That's a statement too.
Yes,
yeah.
All right, coming up on DBL, our interview with NBA legend Magic Johnson. He tells us what broke the rivalry between he and the great Larry Bird. And Netflix has its biggest fall in subscribers in more than a decade. Is woke programming to blame? We'll talk about it.
Closed captioning provided by
This April, connect with Al, Tori, Erica, Jeff, and Sam.
What are we talking about?
Real conversations are on DBL. I love this story.
That's why you watch every show.
DBL, all new, every day.
I thought that was going to lead you in.
Oh my God. Talked about it. I'm like, well, that's the end of that.
I was like, that's the only thing I know not to mention. We're talking about their beats with every segment that we do. Sometimes there'll be one or two beats. So
can I be honest?
Yes. Tell everybody what happened. Because you feel like it impedes the organic
As soon as
flow.
they tell me the beats.
Tell everybody what a beat is.
A beat is like this. We're going to talk about the colors of, we're going to talk about rainbow, but the first beat is all about the color red. Then the second beat will be about orange, and then the third will be about yellow. So don't jump ahead on yellow when we're just on red, right? And when that happens, Brandon London, another co-host previously, and I, it gets in our head not to say yellow, and so all we're thinking is yellow, yellow, yellow.
In this case, we said we're going to bring up the fact that Johnny Depp is an actor in the second beat.
No, can I be honest? I also thought, in my head, this is what I honestly thought. Oh my God, I'm such a good host. I'm going to transition. Shut up, Sierra, because I'm going to say he's also a good actor. And then I looked at him like this, and I thought you were going to be like, well, that leads me to.
Let me tell you how it works. They told me 3 times. They're like, halfway through that beat mentioned that he's an actor. I'm like, I got it. I'm like, just tell them to tell me in my ear. So they're like, he's an actor. I'm like, I got it. And Tori goes, let's not forget, he's an actor. And it just fell. There was silence. I was like,
You think he was acting?
because someone else was continuing on what we were talking about. And then I was going to transition. Johnny Depp convinced me he's a pirate. Why can't he convince me that he's not an abuser?
I thought I was bringing it up.
Johnny Depp is
over because I thought maybe you didn't hear the instructions.
I was saying yellow, yellow, yellow.
You did it in the first story today.
No, I didn't.
You brought up the third beat in the lead story in the first story.
That was actually written on the card. I hate beats. I'm not good at the actual beats, like Beats by Dre, and I'm not good at
other
these
streaming
beats.
services. That was the third beat, but you brought it up in the first.
Look, sometimes the conversation doesn't go to beats.
Welcome back. The numbers are in, and it's not looking good for Netflix. Shares for the streaming service dropped 25% over 3 months, its first drop in more than a decade. The company said it lost 200,000 subscribers and could lose up to 2 million more. It blamed the dip on a bunch of things like increased competition, inflation, the war in Ukraine, but it says the biggest reason is password sharing. Netflix says about 100 million households share passwords. To offset the loss, the company wants to crack down on password sharing and introduce a cheaper option with ads. I'm not buying this.
I'm not buying that. I'm for the first time in a while. You and I 100% agree. It's
Why not?
I think it's because there hasn't been a Tiger King in a while, a big Netflix hit that we all go to.
But would Tiger King be Tiger King without the pandemic?
Right.
We were all locked
Agreed.
down.
I do think the pandemic is a huge deal because we're walking outside and seeing the sky for the first time. But I also think you're getting better programming on other things. Like Apple went up 11%. Severance is one of the top shows I've seen in 10 years. So you're getting saturated by more and more streaming service. Netflix and chill is more like you could pick any one of them and chill. It's not the brand name.
So you're going with
Kleenex.
competition.
Yeah, I go with saturation and competition. And I also go with cost of living, that I really think spending $20 a month, it's not easy for every single person when inflation has gone up and wages haven't.
What do you think, Al?
You know, it was just interesting that you guys both thought that. I just said I wasn't buying their answer. Yeah,
I didn't. Yeah.
I guess I don't understand the business model of your stock tanks if people stop stealing your passwords. I guess I don't understand how that affects your bottom line if these people aren't paying into your bottom line anyway. I do understand the increased competition. And now, like you said, we've increased competition from the environment because you can't go outside. But I just think people, honestly, and this is something it was a joke at first, I think people almost got to the end of Netflix. I think people really.
There's just a man.
That was Erica's joke during the pandemic.
They rewatched everything. I kind of did that. Anything I ever wanted to watch on like HBO, I watched The Sopranos. You know, you go through. I watched Deadwood. It was like 2006.
Great show.
Because there was time to watch all these things. So maybe people literally just watch everything you have.
All right. Well, let me get to this next beat here, because some people like Elon Musk are blaming the loss in subscribers because of pandering to the left. Elon tweeted, "The woke mind virus is making Netflix unwatchable." Some people online pointed to so-called woke content like this series from Japan called He's Expecting, about a biological man who mysteriously becomes pregnant. But now, before we get too far down this rabbit hole, let's take Elon Musk out of this, because when you take a controversial character like that, it becomes about Elon Musk. Let's just talk about, is it too woke? Let's just talk about that in general. Is that an answer?
What happened to there being programming and content for everyone? I mean, people can find exactly what's in their lane anytime they want to find what's in their lane. We don't have this conversation when we're talking about broadcasts, and there was a time where a typical broadcast show was getting damn near Super Bowl numbers on a Wednesday night. So it's all about the evolution. I do think that it is problematic, the idea of people sharing passwords, because it's not necessarily cutting into their bottom line, but it definitely is robbing them of revenue that they are actually owed in the first place. Right. So I think, yes, trying to get more of that money and trying to get more people to subscribe and not share the passwords is probably going to be an effective way to combat that. But at the end of the day, there are just, again, a saturated market. There's so many more options for people that we're never going to go back to the Netflix days where that was the only streaming service, just like we're not going to go back to 25 million viewers watching broadcast television.
Like MASH, the finale
on
of MASH.
Friday night.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah, probably just a combination of all of it. We'll see. Coming up on DBL, NBA icon Magic Johnson tells us all about his docuseries, They Call Me Magic. You don't want to miss this very special interview.
A strain of bird flu that's very contagious and deadly for chickens is spreading through some U.S. poultry flocks. The infected include backyard birds, commercial poultry, pet chickens, and wild birds in captivity. So when we first told you the disease doesn't pose a risk to humans who eat poultry, it prompted even more questions, like this one from Cheryl, who says she has several wild bird feeders in her yard and wants to know if it's safe to handle those feeders. So the question is, can you get infected with bird flu while handling wild bird feeders? As always, we're upfront with our sources. They include the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and Dr. Michael Martin, state veterinarian for the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. The CDC says infections only occur when people come into close contact with sick birds. Martin says that he has not seen any evidence of the virus affecting people at all. For those with bird feeders, he has this recommendation.
So it's always good to kind of wash up after using and working with your bird feeder, just as a general practice. But there's nothing right now that's a heightened need for doing that because of avian influenza.
He also says if you have backyard chickens or pet birds, keep those bird feeders away.
Just because those wild birds may have diseases like avian influenza or other diseases that could actually cause problems with your own domestic chickens. And so it's always just kind of a good idea to try to keep diseases from your birds that you're taking care of.
So we can verify, no, you cannot get infected with bird flu while handling wild bird feeders. Once again, the disease poses very little risk to humans. With your Verify, I'm Vanessa Rufus.
All of a sudden, we started to win. He's going to be the greatest player of all time.
And in walks Magic Johnson, approaching the podium.
That was a clip from Magic Johnson's new docuseries, They Call Me Magic. Earlier, we spoke to the legend about his life and his career. Check it out.
Your smile is just lighting up our entire studio. It is contagious. So Magic, congratulations. You've got your new docuseries coming out. Why do you feel like this is the right time to share your story?
Well, I think what happened was really when Michael Jordan came out with The Last Dance and it ended, my phone just started ringing off the hook. We love what happened with Michael Jordan. Now we want to hear your story. And so I think that's what really inspired me to do it. And I had to find the right partner, and Apple TV Plus has been the right partner. And then, you know, you start making the phone calls, asking people would they be in it. And everybody said yes. And so here we are. But I'm excited because I wanted people to know, yes, it's been some highs, but it's been some lows too in my life. It's been some difficult moments, some difficult times, but it's how you get through them is what matters. And so that's what it's all about.
Amen.
Absolutely. And Sarah, I wanted to ask you this because I feel like everything that turns out to be great needs something to drive it, like a catalyst. And I feel like for you, that catalyst was your rivalry with Larry Bird. I mean, you guys went at it and for more than a decade, forever. So I feel like that would have gone on. But then you guys did a Converse commercial that led to the start of your friendship off the court. Do you guys think you would be friends today if it wasn't for that commercial?
Well, I would say that it would never probably would be the friendship without that commercial. That changed both of our lives. So now we're shooting a commercial 3 hours. It's time for lunch break. I'm thinking I'm going to my trailer to eat. But he says, no, Magic, come to the house. My mother has prepared lunch. So I can't turn down Mom Bird, you know. So I go up to the house and he's on one end, I'm on the other end of the table. She brings out the last dish of the food and she says, Larry, did you tell him yet? And he says, no, Mom, you tell him. She turns to me and said, Magic, you my favorite basketball player.
Betrayal at the bird table. I love it. I love it.
Well, Magic, you mentioned your children, and I'm going to say specifically EJ because I ran into EJ one time and fanned out like I had lost my mind. EJ is one of the most fabulous people I have ever met in person, okay? But you've been transparent to share in the docuseries that you struggled when EJ came out as gay. Can you tell us what led to you accepting and loving EJ for exactly who EJ is?
Well, you know, great question, because we grow up wanting our kids to be what we want them to be, right? And so when that world changed, right, then that he didn't become an athlete or he didn't become what I thought he should be, then it was on me, not on him. And so I had to change. I had to accept who EJ wanted to be, and I had to love him for him. And I'm glad that he did change me. And what really got to me was all the letters and emails that he has received around the world, how many lives he has changed and saved. He has been responsible for letting other kids be themselves, as well as tell their parents that they wanted to come out to them. Because a lot of people wrote him and said, I was struggling with that until you came out, and I see how you just love being you. That allowed them to love themselves and become a person who they wanted to become.
Amen.
Absolutely. Magic, quickly, I just wanted to talk about, we talk about this on the show all the time, and it's frustrating when you hear about movies or shows that are made about someone without their input, AKA Tiger Woods with the Tiger documentary. How do you feel about HBO Winning Time being made without your input? Because I'd much rather watch your docuseries.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Nothing we could do about it. You know, the Lakers couldn't do anything about it. The NBA couldn't do anything about it. And then, you know, there's some so much lies and not the truth, and so many things made up. So now people get to hear from me, get to hear from the real Lakers. I'm so happy that we're coming behind this so people can really get to hear the real truth on what really happened.
We got to have you back, Magic. What an honor.
In fact, everybody, first of all, Magic, thank you so much for joining us. But to our viewers, you don't want to miss this. To learn more about Magic's legendary life and career, you got to watch his docuseries, They Call Me Magic, premiering exclusively on Apple TV Plus this Friday, April 22nd. We'll be right back. Thanks, Magic.
Thank you, guys.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by
State and local governments are enacting controversial laws directed at the LGBTQ community. They sometimes draw criticism from government officials in other states and communities. Verify viewer Verushka asked us about a travel ban imposed in early April by Los Angeles County. So let's verify. Did Los Angeles County ban travel to Texas and Florida over LGBTQ laws? Our sources are California Assembly Bill 1887, California Attorney General Rob Bonta, and Supreme Court briefs filed by the states of Texas and California. In 2016, California passed AB 1887. The law banned state-funded or state-sponsored travel to other states that were deemed to have anti-LGBTQ laws. Currently, 18 states are on the ban list, including Texas and Florida. Attorney General Bonta argues the ban serves two purposes. One, as an employer, the state wants to protect employees from hostilities. And two, it doesn't want to spend money in states that don't share its values toward the LGBTQ community. Texas sued California over AB 1887, arguing the law is unconstitutional. But in 2021, the Supreme Court declined to hear the case, and the law stands today. LA County's travel ban that was passed earlier this month is simply a local-level policy that mirrors AB 1887, since that law only applies to state money. So, yes, Los Angeles County did ban government-funded travel to Texas and Florida over LGBTQ laws. Other states and communities have had similar travel restrictions in the past over LGBTQ rights. Washington, Minnesota, and 4 other states, along with D.C. and dozens of other cities, banned travel to North Carolina in 2017 over that state's controversial bathroom law, HB 2. It required people to use the bathroom of the gender that was assigned to them at birth. The bill was later mostly repealed following the backlash. Typically, these travel bans have several exceptions, such as for public safety, when firefighters from other states travel to assist during disasters. The ban also only applies to publicly funded trips, meaning there are no restrictions on residents traveling on their own to banned states. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
Pawn shops are seeing a boost in business thanks to shoppers looking to cut down on their carbon footprint. Let's connect the dots. According to the fashion website threadup.com, more shoppers want to prioritize sustainability. Younger shoppers are leading the charge. A recent survey shows that Gen Z shoppers pay attention to their carbon footprint more often than older generations, and they're turning to pawn shops to buy used items. Pawn shops aren't just a good place to get cash for your old items, they're also a good place to shop for pre-owned items. Because pawn shops are highly regulated, reputable pawn shops will always guarantee the authenticity of everything they sell. And if you're looking to sell something of your own, you may have more luck at a pawn shop. Not only do we get cash right away, but pawn shops can be quicker and less risky than selling to somebody online. And that is connecting the dots.
Welcome back. Did you know that active elderly people can actually be healthier than inactive young adults? That's today's Focus on Fitness presented by QB. So according to a study, individuals who were physically active throughout their life have healthier and superior muscle function compared to inactive younger individuals. Meaning, if you're participating in activities like swimming, cycling, running, or resistance exercise, the cells in your muscles will be protected long term. QB is a great way to get some quick exercise regardless of physical ability or age. Try their under-desk elliptical at home. Call 1-800-556-2089 or visit QB.com to learn more. All right, before we go, we have one more story we want to get to. The legendary Dolly Parton, of course, actually has haters. Tori, you're not alone. Listen, that goes for all of us up here. Man. On a recent podcast appearance, Dolly said she was told to not look cheap during her early years. People told her to change her big hair and over-the-top makeup and clothes because no one would take her seriously.
And let me just go and direct you to a 1977, if you want to Google it, Barbara Walters interview, where Barbara Walters sits down with Dolly Parton and says, you don't have to do this. You don't have to wear all that makeup and put on all this stuff. And Dolly expertly says, this is what I want to do. This is who I am. I highly recommend it in watching it. It is exactly what people said. You don't need all this. And she said, this is all me.
She's a national
treasure. What if you're just trying to give good advice, right? What if, I mean, not putting someone down?
Yeah, by being a cheap version of what they were. No thanks.
Well, we're out of time. See you tomorrow.